From California to Texas, from Long Beach to COTA, the Goodyear Autocare Warana SuperSeries rolls on. And we are at the fifth stop of 11 in this final campaign for 2021. A critical point of the championship with the man that missed the race last week back on the grid and pushing uphill, fighting his way back into the title fight for the rest of the season. Formula One put on a pretty good show here not 38 hours ago. Now we get set for what the virtual supercars might offer as well. It's the COTA 160 on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting. Good evening, everybody. Zach Cabin and JP with you for our live and exclusive coverage of round 5 of the championship. On the back of 200 kilometres around Long Beach last week, we do 163 around Circuit of the Americas tonight. It's the West configuration of this Grand Prix circuit. So we're not using the full layout that you saw in action yesterday morning if you were watching that battle between Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton. We're using the exact same configuration and layout that was used by the Real World Supercars Championship when they visited America for the first and only time ever back in 2013. Critical stop of the championship because this is one of those races that falls in that midway point of the championship. It's a sprint in amongst two enduros. We had a mini enduro last week. We've got our first enduro next week, and pressure is really building as we edge closer towards the Goodyear Autocare Warana Bathurst 1000 in December. JP, good evening to you. You can just feel the intensity lifting, can't you, with each and every passing week. The pressure is on these guys to perform, and tonight it's an unknown because we have not raced here yet this year.
Yeah, good evening, Zach, and good evening, viewers. Yeah, look, you're 100% right there. Every week, the intensity is just going up that little bit more. The drivers are pushing that little bit harder. Really looking forward to see what's in store for tonight.
All right, mate. Well, the good news is that you're the man in the hot seat each and every week when we start a broadcast to take us on a hot lap of this circuit. Yep, sure, we've seen a lot of it on the telly in the last couple of days, but that's been Formula One open wheel stuff. It's a bit more technical, a bit more challenging than a supercar, and it's, of course, a shorter layout of this magnificent purpose-built venue, which opened back in 2012. Let's cut you loose and let you steer us through a hot lap of this 4.1-kilometre course.
As usual, it's all about getting the run onto that main straight. You brake hard going up the hill here. Turn in nice and early. Short shift into second gear now. 3/4 track. Turn in early. Off the throttle slightly. Take as much track as you can. And now we're going through this S section. So we want to be nice and smooth through here. Not hit those sleeping policemen. Smooth is fast going through here. On the brakes. Turn in early. Quick on the throttle now. We'll straighten up this corner. Second gear, turn in on the throttle, nice and quick. Using all of the track. This is one of these tracks where you can use plenty of track. Brake down into second gear. I like to use second going through here on the throttle, nice and early again. Into third gear on the brakes. Cut the track. Now we can use plenty of track coming through here. Third gear. Now I go straight. Second gear, turn in late. Get a nice run out through here in first gear, short shift to second, and now we're going through this section here. Carry plenty of pace, sticking nice and close to the edge of the track here. Into fifth gear, lining up this corner. Third gear on the brakes, a slight dab. Use plenty of power on the exit. Lots of track here. Second gear, cut this corner nice and smooth. Nice run out through this corner. And that is a hot lap of the Circuit of the Americas West Circuit.
Nicely done, JP. Thank you for that. Drivers out there at the moment completing their 30-minute qualifying session. Dylan Rudd, Jamie Dyke, Rehan Linage, Rainer Costello, Brian Borg, the current top 5 here. You can see that we are only about a minute and a half away from this session concluding. So this is the last opportunity for drivers to clock a competitive time and maybe improve their position. I don't think anyone's beating Dylan Rudd tonight. Jamie Dyke, very impressive. Let's stick with this. And then at the end of the session, once the flag waves, we'll update you on championship points. Have a look at the race info. Have a look at the grid for you. We'll rip through it as quick as possible. But this is important because for Dylan Rudd, JP, he needs to make every post a winner here and hope that people like Jamie Dyke, people like Brian Borg that have had a rough start to the season, aren't necessarily right up there in title contention with Rehan and Rayner. Dylan's kind of relying on those guys around him to put as much distance between himself, Rehan and Rayner as he possibly can.
Yeah, absolutely. He's going to be under the pump for the rest of the season. It's going to be go time for Dylan. But if anyone can pull it off, he can. And yeah, like you said, he's going to be hoping that the Rehan Leonages, Rayner Costellos, Brian Borgs of the series fall into a little bit of trouble to allow him to sort of make some ground.
Indeed. Speaking of Costello, there he is on screen at the moment, 130.34. There's nothing in it. 4 thousandths of a second between him and Rehan Leonage. Onto the straight comes the 44. Let's see if he can improve his time across the line. Yes, he can! Rayner Costello goes to third with a scintillating lap on the last chance of the session. The last gasp. What about that? He's only 300ths off Jamie Dyke, and he's put 700ths of a second between himself and Rehan Leonage. That was impressive. So Dylan Rudd will grab pole. Jamie Dyke, Rayner Costello, Rehan Leonage, and also track positions critical. Let's talk two things here, JP, before we rip through the race info, championship stats and whatnot. Let's talk about the wide open spaces of this racetrack. Yes, it's wide. That means a lot of room to move. But the inside line's still going to be critical on the run up towards turn one, And the other point of the matter is that there's also still, despite the fact that you've got a lot of runoff area and a lot of bitumen to play with in terms of the track width, there's also that possibility to easily slip up. There are trigger points around this circuit. Turn one is just one of them.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, there's plenty of opportunities, and there are plenty of opportunities to get it wrong around this circuit. Like you said, turn one is one of them. You know, it's a great inside braking maneuver, but also the back end of the car tends to want to step out on the inside line, so you've got to be very, very careful going through there.
Indeed you do. So Dylan Rudd, Jamie Dyke, Rayner Costello, Rehan Leonage, and Brian Borg, the top five. Really impressive to see. And Jamie Dyke that far up the grid. Dylan Pereira's had a good run. He's seventh. He just hasn't been able to take a trick so far this season. But there's the other point as well. Whilst someone in Dylan Rudd's 9.5 Sim Sports squad might be able to push him forward and help him out as much as they can, Dylan Pereira may well be that same assistance for Rehan Leonage in Rehan's quest for the championship. It's going to be interesting to see what sort of a role the teammates who aren't necessarily mathematically in contention play throughout the final, 7 rounds of the season, mate.
Yeah, absolutely, and you know they're going to be talking about that right now in their individual teams. How can the guys who may not necessarily be in contention for a championship win or a podium, what are they going to do to help their teammates clinch the top spot?
All right, let's have a look now with drivers in pit lane, the warm-up session underway. Let's have a look at the championship points as they stand coming into this round. With no disrespect to anyone outside the top 20, I think it's the top 5 that we're worried about here at the moment. And, of course, Dylan Rudd, who's outside the top 10 trying to fight his way back in. There it is, 15 points in favour of Rehan Leonage at the moment. And don't be mistaken, folks, yes, he looks as young as he is, ladies and gentlemen. The 11-year-old is leading the title fight and making everyone look silly in the process. 592 plays, 577 for Rayner Costello. Last week's winner, Sean McNamara. Geez, that was a clinical performance on the streets of Long Beach. 567. Brian Borg on 559 and Jamie Dyke on 530. Simon Vella on 506. And then a big gap then back to Craig Schultz, Blake Delaney, Dean Alessi and Jared Bailey making up the top 10. We go over the page and that will reveal exactly where Dylan Rudd is for you here, folks, in 12th. 449, so 143 points separating him and Rehan Leonage. So what effectively needs to happen, JP, for Dylan to get back into the fight is for Rehan and Rayner and even Sean McNamara to have an absolute shocker or two along the way to the checkered flag here.
Yeah, absolutely. Probably not something that's going to happen, but with this kind of field and this kind of intense racing, anything can really happen.
Certainly can. Probably an opportune moment for us to remind everybody that This is the second of a 6-week swing through the America region. Of course, next week it's Brazil, then 3 more in America through round 7, 8, and 9, then Donington Park for round 10, all on the way to Mount Panorama for round 11, I should say. Now, we'll have a look at the grid in just a moment, but before that, we should have a look at the race info for tonight, with thanks to Goodyear Autocare Warana, the COTA 160, of course, round 5 of this Super Series. The circuit, you just saw it with the onboard lap with JP. It is 4.18 kilometres in length. It is a 39-lap race tonight. There will be 163 kilometres of racing here, 163.02 to be precise. 64 kilometres an hour along pit lane for these guys. That is the speed limit. The fuel restriction, these numbers are very easy. 44.4 litres is the fuel restriction tonight. 2 pit stops along the way. The fuel burn, 3 litres a lap, 14.8 laps. So watch a lot of these drivers stretch that to 15 at the maximum, 15, 30, and then maybe who knows from there. It'll be a case of they can run it as late as lap 30, or JP, they can look at the alternate strategy, which would be probably lap 25 would be that critical number for them. That gets them the 14 to 39, and then, of course, the one back to pit lane safely with some fuel still left in the tank. 2 sets of tyres available to these guys. That'll be the set they start on and the set they finish on. When they put that extra set on, that new set on, that is up to them. Most people opt for the second pit stop. Some will opt for the first. 26th of October 2021, 3:05 p.m. American Central Daylight Time, which would be 6:05 a.m. on a Wednesday morning Australian Eastern Daylight Time. No, thank you. Very happy that it's 8:30 p.m. on a Tuesday night when we get underway here. 22 is the air temp, 31 on track, 11 kilometres an hour wind speed in a southeasterly direction here for you. So we are getting set to go, JP. Who do you reckon wins this and why, mate?
This is going to be a tough one to call. I think it's going to come down to who gets the start. Obviously, Dylan is the man to beat off the line. If he gets a good start, he's going to be hard to catch. He's going to be near impossible to catch. Watch out for Rainer Costello. He's certainly in with a chance. Jamie Dyke is the dark horse. You know, he's just getting better week after week. So keep an eye on for him. And of course, you can't count out Rahan Leonage either.
Absolutely not. Let's, on that note, have a look at those qualifying results, which reflect the grid positions for tonight's race for you, ladies and gentlemen. We've only got about 25 seconds before these drivers will line up on the grid, so we'll move quickly here as best we can. Dylan Rudd, another pole position, no surprise. Back in the server, back on top, alongside Jamie Dyke. What about that from Arjun? Rainer Costello from row 2, alongside Rehan Leonage, the 2 championship combatants at this point, the 2 youngsters. Looking to ply their trade from there. Brian Borg and Blake Delaney from row 3. That's an impressive qualifying performance from Delaney. Don't mind it. Dylan Pereira and Jared Bailey from row 4. Sean McNamara and Ben Morris, who's always a dark horse and a loose cannon, from row number 5. David Kirby is on row 6 alongside Peter Crossingham from row 7. It will be Stephen Bull and Simon Chadwick from row 8, Brian Good and Craig Schultz from row 9, David Coleman and David Nash, the 2 Davids on row 9 there in Commodores as well, and then Dean Alessi and Justin Pennefather from row 10. You can see that the margins have really stretched out in this field. I mean, it was only a second separating the top 12, but then it's really blown out from there. Robert Crisdale and Chris Barnes from row 11, Bradbury and Norris from 12, Tunnock and Noble from 13, Barchin and Vella from 14, Hobbs and Davis from 15. From 16, no time for Matthew Scholes, so that is quite interesting. We'll wait and see what the ramifications are of that, whether he actually takes to the grid at all, JP, or whether if he does join us for the race, he'll, of course, start from pit lane. So we wait to see how this might unfold. This goes time critical at 2 hours and 15 minutes. I don't think we'll need that long unless the safety car plans on racing all night long. We're getting ready to go. Round 5 of the Goodyear Autocare Warana SuperSeries Tuesday Night Motorsport on the platforms of Simshed Broadcasting. They're gone. Great start from Dylan Rudd. Better start from Rainer Costello, who's made light work of Jamie Dyke on the run towards the first corner. Rudd will lead them through. Rehan Leonage up there on the outside, looking to make light work of Dyke through the second quarter, but Dyke's got the line. Nice, clean getaway from everybody here as they stretch towards the S's for the first time. Then, of course, you'll notice where the Formula One circuit would normally go right here. These guys are going left through the short chute that puts them towards the back straight. That is a magnificent start from Dylan Rudd and an impressive start from Rainer Costello. Didn't muck around. Made light work of Jamie Dyke on the run to turn 1, of course, put himself in third position on the last gasp in qualifying, and now has shown us that he's really got some pace to show and offer tonight, and maybe, just maybe, he might be able to take it to Dylan Rudd. Through they go. That's another trouble point of the circuit, that little tight left-hander there that cuts back on itself a little bit. Need to be mindful of those critical trouble points tonight, because if we're going to get safety cars are going to crash or whatever, it's not going to be the usual meet the concrete barrier, because as you can see here at the Circuit of the Americas, there's a lot of runoff area to play with. So if someone's going to clout these walls, it's going to be a big one. Onto the main straight, 1 in the book and 38 to go. Riding on board with Rainer Costello. That's been a good start from him. Having a look at some of the movers and shakers through the field. Ben Morris from 10th up to 7th, a big mover. Brian Borgs had an absolute shocker. He got swamped back down to 9th position from 5th on the grid. Elsewhere through the field, Bruce Tunnock from 25th up to 19th, and he's on a charge. Jamie Dyke sticking with these guys as well, JP. So, as you said, you've got to keep an eye on him. He is staying with Rainer Costello and Dylan Rudd. He's not letting them get too far away. There on screen is the number 9 of Jared Bailey. Sorry, the number 8, I should say, Blake Delaney. And Rehan Leonage is just ahead of him, and he is being pursued by Dylan Pereira, Ben Morris, then Jared Bailey.
Yeah, look, Jamie Dyke's doing a great job. He's got 2 purple sectors, so he might be pulling the fastest lap of the race so far out of the hat, and he is really menacing Rainer Costello now.
Through they go for the second time. This is a magnificent opportunity for Jamie Dyke in the Fishy Motorsport entry. Onto the main straight they go. 2 in the book, and so far so good. It's been pretty clean, which we expected. I mean, to be fair, JP, last week at Long Beach was relatively clean. We still had a few moments that needed to be dealt with by race control. But if they can get through 64 laps there relatively cleanly, surely they should be able to handle 39 here with Consumer-Ds.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a testament to the driving standards of these guys too, being able to race like this, race nose to tail, and race without incidences.
Exactly right. So through they go. Over the rise and down. The back straight into the left-hander. Dylan Rudd, Rainer Costello, Jamie Dyke, Rehan Leonage and Blake Delaney.
It's worthwhile mentioning as well, Jamie Dyke did get the fastest lap of the race on the last lap, 1:30.6.
Yeah, quite a good benchmark from him. And I dare say a little bit later on we may see that improved upon once the guys take their new set of tyres, JP. The rubber will start wearing by lap 3, which is the one we're on right now. So the effectiveness of them, the pace on them will start to, evaporate. So don't expect Hollywood numbers all the way through this opening stint. But we look forward to, once fresh tyres are taken, seeing who can improve on the benchmark of Jamie Dyke. 1:30.60. Everyone that time round in the 31.0s. 31.02 for Rudd, 31.06 for Costello, 31.08 for Dyke. How close do you like it? Lap 4 at 39. Rudd leads Costello, Dyke, Leonage and Delaney. So there's been some big movers, but the biggest loser in all of that was Brian Borg down 4 positions. Sean McNamara also dropping down into 10th place. But at the front, the 3 guys that I think you need to get used to us saying their names throughout the course of the night, ladies and gentlemen. I think you need to get used to seeing these guys because they have gapped the competition. Rehan Leonard's just not able to go with them at the moment. It'll be interesting to notice. Whoa! Dylan Perez had a moment. Big slide coming onto the back straight. And that's going to see him drop all the way down to 10th position. So through go Morris, Bailey, Borg, and Sean McNamara as well. Here's how it happened. Through the left-hander, and he's got it crossed up on the curb coming through the right kink, and then went to flick it back left, and the car said no thanks.
Yeah, he had a little bit of steering angle on the car when he came through there. You've got to go through there straight. It's like a little jump there. You take that little jump and you're hard on the brakes, and then you're straight on the, you start to trail the brake almost immediately.
Now, car 640 is going to get a drive-through penalty here, or contact on the 1-2-3. 1-2-3, Bruce Tunnock. He had a great start. He was up 6 positions. Unfortunately, he got hammered by David Coleman. Coleman will be coming to pit lane for a drive-through penalty. Lap 5 of 39. The platform's the Sim Shed Broadcasting. Great to have you along for the ride. Tuesday Night Motorsport across Facebook and YouTube. The RSRA Super Series for Goodyear Autocare Warana, the COTA 160. There is Rehan Leonage in the 79 at the moment. Now, chasing after Jamie Dyke. Now, what's interesting here, JP, we were about to say this before Dylan Pereira had his moment. What's going to be interesting for mine is how Rehan plays his strategy, because we've seen a couple of master strokes, courtesy of his team manager, Lassif Leonage, in the last couple of weeks, whereby he's fueled up, he's short-fueled the second stint, he's taken the new tyres early, he's given himself track position, and he's gone on to record a podium. He might need to pull something out of the backside again tonight, not dissimilar to what we've just discussed.
Yeah, look, I was actually, before we saw the incident with Dylan Pereira, I was going to say, look, he's really in the box seat at the moment. He's not being harassed by Blake Delaney, and he's being able to manage that gap between himself and Jamie Dyke fairly well. I would be saying, like, Rehan's strategy for tonight, try not to get any off tracks, try to get that clean race bonus, so the extra 5 points, and just keep banking points. He's going to keep moving up the championship as far as the points are concerned, and everybody else, even though they're in front of him, they have to play catch up to Rehan.
Great to have so many people tuning in on social media. We'll try and get to your comments as the evening goes on here. One comment that I quite like from Will Jesberg, saying that he'd like to see the lap times that you record during your hot laps, JP.
Well, I can make that happen next week, so we'll get some lap times up.
Excellent. Looking forward to that. Same challenge will apply when Matt Davis comes back to do hot laps too, I might add.
I don't get much time to do the hot laps, about half a dozen laps to get myself some seat time, and then it's into it.
So, a bit of love in the house for the Fishy boys. Someone also asking for more backside references. We'll see what we can do. 6 out of 39 for you on the platforms of Sim Shed Broadcasting, Tuesday Night Motorsport, Tuesday afternoon, if you're tuning in the west, of course. Not yet 6 o'clock over there. Late on a Tuesday night in Kiwi Town in New Zealand. And we have got a couple of Kiwi friends tuning in, as we usually do. 6 of 39 onto the main straight. Dylan Rudd leads this almost by a second now over Rainer Costello and Jamie Dyke. Rehan Leonage, Blake Delaney and Ben Morris making up the top 6. Morris, the biggest mover inside the top 10 thus far, up 4 positions as they head down the main straight. Look at Jamie Dyke getting very close, too close to Rainer Costello, who puts the move on to try and block the events. Oh, what about that for aggression from Jamie Dyke? You could see Rainer Costello trying to move across to block the attack that was being launched upon him, and he wasn't able to. He couldn't get across quick enough, JP, and Jamie Dyke is now second in the motor race. What a charge.
Yeah, brilliant move by Jamie Dyke there, and Rayner would have seen that coming. He's gone across to make it difficult for Jamie. He's made that one move across there, but there's a point where you've just got to give up. You know you're beaten into the corner. Give up. Let's fight on.
Absolutely, and and that's the other thing as well. You might have noticed too, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of the AstroTurf on the other side of the ripple strip being used by Rayner there. That's the interesting thing, JP. Some racetracks, the stringency on track limits is better than others. Obviously, Road America, you can use a bit more of the bitumen and the real estate if you have to.
You can, but at that point, Rayner would have been considered of being off track. So that is going to put paid to a clean race bonus for him. And here's a move that he put on Jamie Dyke. Look at this.
Nice move back on the inside, forceful, and got the position back. I think I said Road America just then. No, I meant COTA, of course.
Yeah,
Circuit of the Americas. I do get a little bit confused sometimes. There's too many bloody American tracks, JP.
Yeah, a little bit of hip and shoulder there by Rayner. So that's definitely going to put paid to his clean race bonus. But they were both side by side, so fair play, race on.
Neither one of them will be getting a clean race tonight, but that might be bad for them, but it's good for us.
Yeah, and
it means the elbows are out.
It's also good for Dylan Rudd. All of this fighting, look at where Dylan Rudd is now. He's 1.8 seconds up the road.
He has just bolted clear, and there won't be much catching him from here, I wouldn't think. It's going to be a very hard uphill task if they do. But it'll be good to watch if they can claw it back, that's for sure. 21 degrees ambient, 27 on track at the moment. Incident points here kick in at 16x and every 9x after that. So those guys, they will stretch it as far as they can. You know, even if they come home now that they've got 1x, 2x, whatever the case may be, that hip and shoulder, they will now stretch it. They'll use it to their advantage. They'll flex their muscle a little bit more. They'll test the waters. If they come home with 15x, they'll be very happy.
Now, this is pretty interesting. Have a look at the side of Rayner's car. He's carrying a bit of damage after that move that he put on Jamie Dyke. So, you know, this might be affecting him.
And there are no fast repairs available to these guys in this series. Just so you're aware, ladies and gentlemen, it's not going to be easy for them. Now, oh no! Rayner Costello has been hit with a drive-through penalty for car contact on Jamie Dyke on lap 7. Now, was that for the overtake? Or was it for the defensiveness of the move coming into turn 1? The way that's written there on the penalty sheet would suggest that it's for the overtake at the end of the back straight. But I'm not entirely sure I agree with that, JP. Not that I'm a judge, jury, executioner, but as far as the adjudicators are concerned, Rayner's got a price to pay.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I don't necessarily agree with that either, but that's race control, and we've got to respect their decision. I would have probably been a lot more harder on him for that move on Jamie Dyke, as Jamie had a go at Rayner going into turn 1. You know, that could have been borderline blocking, but like we said, that's race control. They've made that decision. We've got to respect it and get on with the racing.
That takes Rayner out of the equation. It has championship implications as well. Rehan Leonage will be just licking his lips at the moment, no doubt, because this is going to help him out. His next nearest opponent will be Sean McNamara, who's 10th at the moment. So if anything, Rehan can keep it where he is at the moment in 4th place, which will soon become 3rd whenever Rayner reports to pit lane. It won't be this time by, but he's got 3 laps to do it. And then it'll be a case of Rehan could bring it home, sit 3rd, sit in, tuck him behind Dyke and enjoy the ride and still extend his championship lead. It's funny how this game plays out sometimes.
Here we go. Look at this. Look, I would have, if I was Rayner, I would have gone into the pits then and there. I mean, he's under pressure by Jamie Dyke. Staying out another lap isn't really going to help him.
Dyke's going to get him around the outside through 2 as well. Forceful driving from this pair. It's been a cracking scrap. It's a shame it's about to come to a premature conclusion. But that's a nice bit of driving from Jamie Dyke to say, look, I'm not going to get second back by default. I'm going to earn it. I'm going to get it on merit, and that's exactly what he's done. Nice driving from Jamie Dyke as they head down the back straight. Look at Rehan Leonage and also Blake Delaney clinging on to this scrap as well. So they've really dropped off Dylan Rudd now and fallen back into the clutches of the battle for 4th and 5th. 10 of 39 from COTA. Good to have your company wherever you're tuning in around Australia. or indeed the world on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting. Round 5 of 11, the second consecutive week on American soil, and we've got another one coming up with South America rather than just plain America next week. So we're in the Americas region for a 6-week swing. Next week's an enduro, which means a 7:50 Eastern Daylight Time broadcast start for you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm looking forward to that. Now, there goes Raider to release himself and serve that penalty. But I tell you what, he'll be driving like a scalded cat for the rest of the night, JP. He will not be happy.
No, he won't be happy, but I'm going to call damage on his car. I think that he's going to be under the pump all night.
Up 11 of 39, so that has gone rather quickly. We're more than quarter of the way through the race now, and remembering that pit window opens in a few laps. If you wanted to do the reverse strategy tonight, 14-14 and 15-15 and 9, or 14-14 and 11, you would have already been in. But these guys, well, you'd be in at the end of this lap, I should say, but these guys are staying out there, which is good to see. Rudd, Dyke, Leonage, Delaney. What we think we'll see is a lot of these guys stretch it to 15, and then there'll be some variation with regards to the second stop, JP, with regards to when these guys come in and take that fresh rubber. And sometimes taking them earlier works, sometimes taking them later works. It just depends on your track position, among other factors.
Yeah, absolutely. I had the opportunity to talk to a few drivers about this track during the week, and a lot of them were saying that it doesn't really affect them too much on tyres. They were able to actually get through 30-odd laps without feeling like they needed to go in for tyres. So I think if you're not sliding around too much, you should be okay with the tyre strategy tonight.
Copy that, mate. Thank you. 12 or 39 for you, wherever you're tuning in. Across the line we go. Rudd continues on. Dyke, Leonage, Delaney. There's Benny Morris sitting in 5th position under pressure from Brian Borg. So Brian Borg looking to fight back after a disappointing start. He's sitting 6th at the moment. It'll be interesting to see how that actually happened. We didn't have a replay of the start to show you what happened to Brian, but he just went backwards on lap 1. That'll hopefully be something we track down and find for you in our post-race show tonight for you folks, wherever you're tuning in. And do stick around for that, because there'll be plenty of questions to ask the top 3 here at the end of this race. Of course, when you look at the calendar that we've run so far this season, this is just the first circuit, I should say, that we've raced on, in which the supercars of the real world have raced on as well. The only other one, of course, Mount Panorama. And we're doing 161 laps around there on Sunday, December 12, and we cannot wait to have your company for that. 12 or 39, wherever you're tuning in. It's Brian Borg. We're riding on board with him. He is following Ben Morris around the big sweeper at the moment. Let's take this opportunity, in fact, folks, to ride on board with Brian Borg. If anything happens, we'll cut back in, but in the meantime, let's crank up the volume and go for a ride with Brian Borg around COTA West. 14 of 39 at COTA West. Goodyear Autocare Warana SuperSeries on the platforms of Sim Shed Broadcasting, Tuesday night motorsport, wherever you're tuning in around Australia. Getting an interesting question here on social media about what snack foods would best complement this style of racing. Well, if you're talking Australian in sense of the racing, you know, you can't go past the usual meat pie, can you? Or the sausage roll. I know that's a bit of a footy thing, but it's still an Aussie thing. That being said, you are on American soil. And there was a story quite a few years ago, back when Channel 9 was still broadcasting Formula 1, Darrell Eastlake, Alan Jones got some fan mail saying that at the end of the day, if we've got the Italian Grand Prix, we'll have Italian food. If we've got the Spanish Grand Prix, we'll have Spanish food. So it's America. So what does that mean? Hot dogs and nachos. Yeah, all that sort of stuff, JP. So, now, we've had a couple of pit stops early on here.
Uh-oh. Looks like we might have had an incident. Let's have a quick look here.
Copy that, JP. Dylan Rudd's in pit lane in the meantime. Jamie Dyke has gone on. Rehan Leonage, it's third. This is Robert Crisdale coming out of pit lane. I was just about to say we've had a few drivers stop here. This is Crisdale at turn 1, and he's gone around.
Just clip
Looped
that.
it, 360, and away he goes again.
Yeah, just clip that that curb there at turn 1, and that's all it takes.
That's unlucky for Robert Crisdale. Plenty of activity on pit lane right now as well, folks. Dylan Rudd, Brian Borg, Ben Morris, Stephen Ball, Brian Good, Sam Noble, all in. Dean Alessi and Hayden Norris. Matthew Scholes, Jared Bailey have already been in. Scholes was in on lap 1, so forget about that. He's out of strategy. He's off sequence. Bailey on lap 12, Kirby on lap 12, Crisdale on lap 13, Bradbury on lap 9. That's Robbie Bradbury. Simon Vella on lap 10, Scott Barchin on lap 12, and Jamie Davis on lap 10. So it's become clear to us, JP, whilst we've been watching the pointy end of town, and justifiably and rightly so. Uh-oh. Can we go back to pit lane, please, JP? Dylan Rudd is still in his box. He's been there for 53 seconds. What is going on to the number 1? Dylan Rudd is in an enormous amount of trouble on pit road at the moment. He's left the pit lane, and he has left after 59.65 seconds. That is disastrous for the number 1. That is a race-changing predicament there, because it means that Jamie Dyke will be the effective leader unless Rehan Leonage can put one past him. Blake Delaney's going to lead across the line at the start of lap 16 here, while Dyke, Leonage, Pereira, McNamara are crossing him, and Chadwick and Costello will come to pit lane. Costello and all that back in 8th position, but of course once this order settles out, we'll find out where he is effective to everybody else. But that's a big blow to Dylan Rudd. He couldn't afford anything to go wrong tonight, and it would appear as though it's come unstuck.
I'd maybe say speeding in pit lane.
Best suggestion would be speeding in pit lane. That's a good point. 16 of 39 here. I'm sure we'll find out a little bit later on exactly what's unfolded, but that is a huge opportunity for Jamie Dyke and Rehan Leonage now to capitalise on the shortcomings.
Now have a look at this. We've seen it before.
Dylan Rudd.
We've seen it before with Rehan Leonage. He's taken the short
stop. He's done it again. He's done it again, JP, and he's done it 3 times out of 5 rounds so far this season. The kid is a freak, and I mean that in the most complimentary way possible. He has got out and bolted. Rehan Leonage has a 5, nearly 6-second lead over Jamie Dyke, and Jamie Dyke will be wondering what the hell's happened here. That is wow, that's a masterstroke. That is typical Rehan Leonage racecraft on display there. And that is just astonishing stuff. Now it becomes clear that he's on the reverse strategy for the next stop. He'll come in around lap 24, 25, fuel up, go home. And then it'll be a case of, hopefully for him, not getting caught in traffic, making every post a winner, and he may well just come out as the winner tonight after the stop-go penalty for Dylan Rudd, the drive-through penalty for Rainer Costello.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, a question's been asked if Rahan did a short stop for track position. It was probably a shorter stop, but not as short as some. He did a, what was that, a 54.47 was his pit stop. The, let's have a look through here. Most of the others, 55.5, 57.4, those sorts of stops, a couple of them, and Jamie Dyke was one of them, a 1 minute 2 second stop.
And we've also been reliably informed as well, JP, from our good mate in race control, Jonathan Ben, of course, that 95 plus at the line. It would seem as though Dylan Rudder's been caught speeding in pit lane with a big, monstrous lockup. So that spells the end of his race, and I tell you what, it could almost be the end of his title chances as well, mate. That is a hugely costly moment, a defining moment, a pivotal moment, and he's down in 22nd as a result.
Yeah, it's not going to bode well for Dylan. However, look, he's not going to give up. He's going to bounce back. He's going to keep racing, and he's going to keep pushing hard. There's still plenty of rounds to go, and there's a lot that can happen between now and the final round. And remember, Bathurst is a double points round.
Correct. We won't get too carried away until we get to the mountain, because we know what the mountain can do for people. It can raise their profile, it can break their heart, and it can do it all in the one day. We'll wait and see.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, just so people know, if I disappear all of a sudden, I've got a massive storm overhead.
Yeah, I could have mentioned that about 15 times already, but I reneged because I was keeping my fingers crossed. Hopefully we've not put the jinx and the mocker and the commentator's curse on it now, JP. 18 of 39. Rehan Leonage leads. Blake Delaney leads Jamie Dyke. So Blake Delaney short-fueled in that stop as well and put himself ahead by a good second on Jamie Dyke, who was in pit lane for 5 seconds longer than anyone in the top 7 around him, including Brian Borg. But Brian Borg was 19.2. Everybody else 13s and 15-second stops. So it's clear. It's very clear, JP, that we've got a very big window to play with here when we get to the next round of stops. And this guy, Rainer Costello, on the ragged edge, trying to fight his way back. He's 9th at the moment. He will have the red mist in the helmet right now, I'm assured.
Yeah, absolutely. He had a 50-second stop, so he had a very short stop as well.
This is the interesting thing, isn't it, mate? That next round of pit stops, that window, 15 laps is what we're talking about. 14.8 is what you get with the fuel burn compared to the fuel tank capacity. It's 44.4 litres. It's 3 litres a lap. Here's a replay for you, and then I'll come back to that point. This is Jamie Davis through into the S's, and he's going to catch a curb, and away he goes. He caught both curbs, actually.
Yeah, he got
the second one was less savage.
Yeah, he got plenty of curb there, and that just put paid to his run.
Unfortunate for Jamie. He'll get back on the track and get back stuck into it. So, yeah, fuel numbers. Now, remembering that everyone needs to be able to make it home under their own steam or they cop a 3-spot penalty. So, let's say on the side of caution here, it's a 39-lap race. They're going to do 40 laps before they get back to pit lane. So let's say that it's 15 laps to a tank. Once you save 0.2 of a lap out of the tank capacity, because we've got 14.8 once we crunch the numbers. So, in a 4.1 kilometre circuit, you've only got to save about 800 metres worth of fuel to make that work for you, maybe 900. The fact of the matter is that these guys are classy enough and crafty enough and skillful enough to be able to do that. Therefore, lap 25 is where that pit window will open, unless you want to push it and go 34 and then save that extra lap along the way to get yourself home under your own steam on lap 40 once the checkered flag is flown at the end of 39. Then, obviously, the window will close around, well, Blake Delaney got 16 laps, Jamie Dyke, Rehan Leonage got 15, so let's say 30-31. It's not going to go any further than that. So between 25 and 31, 6 laps in which we'll need to have our eyes on pit lane at this point in time. Now, there's Craig Schultz under pressure from David Kirby. The battle for 11th is on. The battle for 2nd is on with Jamie Dyke now getting past Blake Delaney. So Jamie Dyke is 2nd. And Jared Bailey's under tremendous pressure from Dylan Pereira as well. You can't rule Pereira out of a top 4 finishes. One of the best runs he's had so far this season. But Jamie Dyke is second, having got by Blake Delaney. And Dyke is on a charge. Rehan Leonage now leads this race by 9.4 seconds. Thank you very much.
I have
he
some
has
inside
just
information.
checked out and gone.
I have some inside information.
Yes.
I've just messaged the Ludo Lacroix of the Super Series, aka Laz Leonage.
Yes.
And I'm saying that Rehan's taken tyres.
Copy that. So, and that's not uncommon for this guy. We normally see him take tyres and fuel at the same time on that first stop. And he short fuels, then he gets the full tank for the run home. And he uses this short run to get the clear track to use the tyre life that he's got in this fresh set now and then pay the price later. But the goal is to build a big enough buffer to protect yourself once the guys on less worn rubber come towards you at the back end of the race. And he's done it to his best, to the best of his ability twice so far this season, JP. I'm not ruling out a third.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and he's not going flat out at the moment. He's still conserving a little bit. So, you know, he's going to be looking for the rest of the race to sort of keep sort of plugging away at the lap times that he's currently got. For Rehan now, it's all going to be about making those laps nice and smooth, not sliding the car at all, keeping that rubber fresh underneath him. So when the guys do jump in the pits and do have their last stop, they are going to have to play the game to catch up to him, and they can catch up to him, but then it's all about passing him.
It is. As we remind you folks that this is the battle between Brian Borg and Rainer Costello. Borg and Costello going at it for track position. This is the battle for 7th. Costello up there on the outside. I don't know what he's trying to achieve on the exit of that corner, because Borg's going to play very defensive here and make it extremely difficult for Costello to find a way by. But now he's wide. Costello's going to put the nose up on the inside, but that's going to put him on the outside for the next sequence of corners, and Borg's coming covered for the moment. Great driving from the pair of them. Well done, Brian Borg, keeping Rainer Costello at bay. But I tell you what, Rainer's the last person you want to upset in this instance. He might only be 16 years of age, but by gee, he's got a heck of a lot of experience and a heck of a lot of good racecraft under his helmet here. And he will use and execute it to the best of his ability, just like that. Just like that. And unfortunately, he couldn't quite pull it off. The up and under works for Brian Borg. And Borg gets the position back as they head back down the main straight. What a piece of driving. What a moment. Have a look at this again, JP. They were on the ragged edge. That was a big send down the inside. Didn't quite work. He couldn't quite pull it up in time. He sacrifices track position on the exit of the corner, but he'll have another crack. We know that. The guy's racecraft is just phenomenal. And you saw it, a genuine illustrative example of it right there and then. Down the back straight again.
I think Borg definitely saw that coming.
Oh, absolutely. I think Borg's going to cover him off again here. So we'll keep repeating the same cycle, won't we? Just watch this. This is a battle that we've got to keep our eyes on, folks. This is two of the hot shots in a position that neither one of them would like to be fighting for, and that is position number 7. It's only going to be lucky for one of them.
And this is the interesting thing. I mean, Borg is the, for want of a better word, the elder statesman of the supercars in iRacing. He's got plenty of years under his belt racing the supercars. Rainer is still relatively new to it all, so it's kind of like the master and the apprentice at the moment.
Onto the main straight they go. Another lap in the books. We're now on lap 23. Rehan Leonage leads this by 10 seconds. Jamie Dyke has Blake Delaney covered. Jared Bailey has Dylan Pereira covered. That's your top 5. Ben Morris is running a lonely race in 6th. 3 seconds then back. Got this battle between Borg and Costello. So you're looking at a guy with Borg experience against the defending Bathurst 1000 winner. And they're getting the band back together. It'll be Costello and Murphy duking it out together in their quest for back-to-back titles on December 12. Cannot wait to see how that plays out. Caught up with Lockie Murphy over the weekend. He said, mate, I'm merely just a co-driver there to help keep Rayner in the race, and I'm hoping I can hold up my end of the deal this year. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think they're going to have it all their way this time around, but it's definitely going to be an interesting day at the races.
161 laps. We'll be on air at 9 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time on that morning. We'll take you through the morning warm-up and go through all the rules and regs and all the equations that we need to on that morning. Nice move there on the inside from Dylan Rudd. Continues his fight back through the field. He's now 17th, under pressure there on the outside from the number 11. The 911, I should say, of David Nash, but Nash will be forced to yield, I would think, at this point in time. Rudd has got him covered. And then at around 10 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time, 161 laps will get underway. Just on 6 hours it took us last year. I'm sure they'll be trying to break the race record this year and go slightly faster, but we will be with you here for the lot of it, and it will be commercial free. An 8-hour broadcast coming away on the platforms of SimShed, broadcasting Sunday, December 12. We've got a lot of business to cover off before we get there, though. Of course, the final 15 laps here at COTA, and then, well, 16 in fact, and then, of course, another 5 championship rounds, including the first Enduro of the season next week. Well, actually, it's kind of the second Enduro, because last week was the 64-lapper. It was 200 kilometres. So it's 40 kilometres longer than our normal races. Next week, 90 kilometres longer than our normal races around the Interlagos circuit in Brazil. Then we've got a heap of sprint racing, with the exception of Road America, where we've got a super sprint format. Hang on, there's a puff of smoke there coming out of the back of the Ben Morris car. Hopefully nothing too wrong there for him. Rehan Leonage in the pits right on cue at the end of lap 24, 15 from home. Rehan Leonage is on pit road. So too is Jamie Dyke. Now, we know Dyke's going to take his rubber this time, but we know Leonage will be fueling to the end. And that's it.
It's going to be interesting to see the pit lane, the pit stop times here by both of these cars.
Now, how much time will Dylan Pereira's continued on. Blake Delaney, Brian Borg, Rayner Costello have all continued on. How much time will Jamie Dyke claw back here from Rehan Leonage? Not enough. There's Leonage gone. See ya. Thanks for coming by. Catch me if you can, he said to Jamie Dyke. As Dyke rejoins the racetrack, the margin, I'm interested to find out what it is between Dyke and Leonage. Brian Good, Robert Crisdale out behind Leonage and Dyke at the moment. Chadwick sandwiched in between them. Then Dylan Rudd up into 13th, but still with a pit stop to do. Oh, geez, he'll be kicking himself, Dylan Rudd. There's no doubt about that. We have got Rehan Leonage, the leader of this race, effectively speaking. He sits down in position number 8 at the moment. He's about, I'm going to say, 3.6 seconds ahead of Jamie Dyke at this point in time. And he is on his way potentially to another race win. You just saw the gap there on your screen. There it is. There's Leonage top of shot. There's Dyke at the back of shot. So there's not much in this, and Simon Chadwick sandwiched in the middle, but he'll release himself shortly because he'll come into fuel to the end as well. Oh, JP, this one's on a knife edge at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is going to be a double-edged sword for Jamie Dyke. Does he push and does he try to get around Chadwick, or does he hold and hopefully he comes in? Chadwick comes in this lap, maybe next lap on the outside, and then he can get to work reeling in Rehan Leonage. There we go. Chadwick's in.
There you go. Chadwick moves to pit lane. That was interesting because he actually blended across the pit line after the pit line started, I think I'm right in saying. I think he's allowed to do that. But it's more used as a reference point, is it? Through turn 1 they go. We're riding on board with the Holden at the moment. That is the race leader, Rehan Leonage, effectively speaking. He's still got a few cars out ahead of him at the moment. That's namely Blake Delaney and Rayner Costello. Rehan is 3rd and Jamie is 4th. They'll be the effective 1 and 2 once we see Delaney and Costello come to pit lane. 26 to 39, wherever you're tuning in there. It's the number 8 for you in Delaney as the race leader. So he's had a good run tonight, JP. He started in the top 10, started down in 6th, and he's just minded his own business. He hasn't got caught up in too much of a fight with anybody in particular, and he might yet net a top 5 result tonight, which would be huge for him.
And that's what it's all about. You know, you want to bank points, bank as many points as you can. I mean, now pole position is great for bragging rights, but that only gives you 1 point. What you want is you want that clean race bonus. So that gives you 5 points, a plus with your race points. So that's what they're going for.
Up 27 to 39, wherever you're tuning in, and this is going to be 28. So 12 to go. Sorry, no, this will be the start of 27, and it is 13 to go, therefore, for Rehan Leonage. So 2/3 race distance. Rainer Costello, Blake Delaney in pit lane. They've been relegated, and Rehan Leonage is back as the race leader. And now Jamie Dyke is closing in. Have a look at that. It's 1.7 seconds.
Fastest lap for Jamie Dyke.
1:30.54, fastest lap for Jamie Dyke. Now, relatively speaking, I'm just having a look down the order to see what Dylan Rudd clocked earlier in the night of 30.77. So Jamie Dyke has clocked the fastest lap of the motor race, if you don't mind, 1:30.54. Wow, Dyke's on a charge. He means business. He desperately wants a W.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see he's got more purple sectors coming up. I think it's a foregone conclusion. It's a great concept getting that undercut, getting the early stop, putting in less fuel and getting the fresh tyres out there, but it really does hurt you on the tail end of the race. Last lap for Rehan Leonage, a 1:30.164. Jamie Dyke did a 1:30.54. It's coming down to, look, it's only a matter of time now before Jamie Dyke is able to get into a position where he can make a passing move on Rehan.
So will the gamble pay off for Rehan Leonage? We wait and see. That being said, catching's one thing, passing's quite another on this circuit. And whilst Dyke has clawed his way to within 1.2, 1.3 seconds of Leonage, he's not quite close enough just yet. Back we go. Well, that's Schultz on screen there in the 2:08. He's got Simon Chadwick for company. He's got David Kirby just ahead of him, and just ahead of Kirby is Scott Barchin. The 4 of them duking it out for position number 13 at the moment. Battles popping up all over the joint at this point in time. Kirby to the inside of Barchin. Couldn't quite get it done. Then Barchin's gone wide. So yes, Kirby and Schultz have made their way by. And Barchin's in the pit lane. That might help explain that. He hadn't yet made his second stop, whereas Chadwick, Kirby and Schultz had. In the meantime, there it is. That's where our focus lies for the next 12 laps, or 11.5 laps, ladies and gentlemen. First and second. There's a bigger crowd at COTA tonight for this race than what there was 8 years ago. But that might just be an iRacing thing, I'm not sure. 28 to 39 for you on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting, wherever you're tuning in around Australia. Great to be with you. Stick around for the post-race, of course. We'll be getting to that shortly. Having a look at the race time at this point, 42 minutes and 24 seconds. So that got us to 27 laps. We're on lap 28. There's a real chance that these guys might run this inside the 60-minute mark tonight, which speaks volumes of the average speed of this circuit. Last week we ran for an hour and a half. We've had a couple of 1 hour plus races already. And more than likely a couple more to come as well. Next week will be one of them over 250 kilometres at the Interlagos circuit. Through they go again, onto the main straight. Another lap in the books. We're watching Dylan Pereira and Brian Borg at this point in time, and in behind them is Ben Morris. Now, to be fair, JP, this is a clean run for Ben Morris, and it's been a consistent and solid run from him as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, we've seen a couple of little sketchy runs from Ben in the last...
Oh, hang on, mate. I'll come back to you. Brian Borg sends it down the inside of Dylan Pereira. And Brian Borg moves himself up into 5th with a beautiful move on the number 61. Brilliant stuff from Borg. The fight back continues. He's back to where he started, back to P5. But now he's got a little bit more work to do. Now look at this. Now look at this. From one battle to the other. I'll come back to JP with his comment about Benny Morris in just a moment. And now look at this. The elbows are out. Speaking of Benny Morris, have a look at this. Right around the outside and then down the inside of Dylan Pereira. Morris is going into P6. Pereira's hung out to dry. Now he'll fight back on the inside. He won't yield just yet. He'll force the issue with Ben Morris, who's the bravest around the outside through the long sweeping right hand. Have a look at that. Oh, magnificent stuff. Now Jamie Dyke going down the inside. Got him. Jamie Dyke, the race leader at COTA. Wow. JP, there's been a lot unfold in that last lap, mate. Let's go back to you and your comments on Benny Morris, who's now in 6th position and up 4 positions on where he started.
Yeah, like I was saying, a credit to Ben Morris. Yeah, had a couple of sketchy rounds, but he's really been able to pull it together tonight. And yeah, he's just been clean and consistent tonight. And it's the old Ben Morris. It's the kind of racing that we've come to expect from him.
Good to see, isn't it? It's really good to see. Oh, switchback time. Peter Crossingham and Stephen Bull. Bull's got to 10th, Crossingham 11th. They're still side by side and duking it out. This is how it happened. Our contact 307. Oh no, David Kirby. The 307 is coming to pit lane after contact was made earlier in the race, and Kirby's going to cop a drive-through penalty. I think it was Scott Barchin, the number 90. And that, I have to say, is disappointing for David Kirby. And I mean really disappointing, because he was having a good run up until that point. Not as high up the order as he probably would have liked to be, but he was still 13th. Now he's about to drop down. That's going to help Dylan Rudd move back into the top 15. In the meantime, Jamie Dyke is the leader ahead of Rehan Leonage. Leonage, to his credit though, JP, sticking with him. We've still got 9 laps to go. This could still ebb and flow either way. But whatever the case, Rehan Leonage extends his championship lead tonight. And I think in the greater scheme of things, when you look at the big picture, that's going to be more important to Rehan in the long run.
Absolutely. These guys are racing for a championship, and that's what counts. That's what you get the trophy for at the end of the season.
Down into turn 6 once more. So, we're riding on board with the 61. That is, of course, Dylan Pereira. Through they go. Ben Morris is 6th. Brian Borg is 5th. Jared Bailey 4th. Blake Delaney 3rd. We could have a new name on the podium tonight in Blake Delaney. That's exciting. Now 31 of 39. JP.
This could actually be a fishy 1-2 tonight. I mean, Blake Delaney is last lap 131.58. Rahan's was a 132.6. So Rahan is now starting to bleed time.
Yeah, despite the fact that he's staying with Dyke, staying within a second of Dyke, if Delaney can close in, and let's be honest, it's a 10-second deficit that he's got to try and cover. It's going to be interesting to see. We'll wait. We'll watch with interest. And some of the comments on Twitch and Facebook and also on YouTube highlighting the fact that, as we said with Jamie Dyke, catching is one thing, passing is another. But tonight, he made the passing look almost as easy as the catching as they come back round onto the main straight. Now, here at the end of the main straight, that is Ben Morris under serious pressure from Dylan Pereira. Pereira bogged it down on the exit of 1. That's going to give Morris a little bit of breathing space here. And there's another comment here saying the Basil Z of E-Racing. I'm not sure who he's talking about, JP, you or me, and I'm assuming that is the great Basil Zemplis that we're being compared to at the moment as well. 32 of 39. I like this whole interacting with the socials as we go here. Good to have you aboard, folks. Thanks for the comments and the feedback. Looking forward to your interaction in the post race as well. If you've got a question that you want me to throw towards the top three, feel free to drop it in. With at the end of the day, we're going to have to fill a little bit more time than usual tonight. Look at this log jam of cars further back in the pack, 32 or 39. So we've just picked up the battle with, is that Robert Crisdale? Brian Good. So, yeah, Robert Crisdale's at the front of that queue. Brian Good's just behind him. Then Sam Noble, Dean Alessi, Lindsay Hobbs, David Kirby, and Justin Pennyfather is just off that train. Have a look at that for a log jam of cars. That is awesome. And that is for positions 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21, if you don't mind, ladies and gentlemen. So just goes to show that the battles don't always have to be at the front end of the field to be hard fought. These guys will every position's a championship point or two. So these guys will be fighting for each position possible between now and the checkered flag, because it could be all the difference at the end of the season when we get to Mount Panorama, JP. The fact of the matter is, we saw season one come down to one solitary point. So 2 points, that could be the difference. It's as simple as that as we go on board with the 911 right here, right now. Coming out of turn number 1. This is David Nash getting past Stephen Bull on the inside. Nicely done from Nash.
Yeah, absolutely. These guys are fighting for every single point. They saw the championship go down to 1 point in the championship before last. So, that's all it takes to win a championship is 1 point more than anyone else. And there you go.
Back onto the main straight we go. That is Blake Delaney in third place. It's closed to within 8 seconds, 9 seconds of Rehan Leonage now, but that's not going to be enough. That is not going to be enough. Dyke leads by 2.3 to Rehan now. Then Blake Delaney third. Jared Bailey fourth. I think the top three are at least locked and sealed. The problem's going to be here for fourth. Look at Brian Borg all over the back of Jared Bailey right now. Borg looking for a little bit of redemption. Whilst the round at Long Beach went good for him, the round before that at the Hungaro Ring did not. Of course, it's been a non-start last week for Dylan Rudd, and then, of course, what is he this week? 13th, and it's not so lucky in that instance. So 2 guys at the start of the season, JP, that we would have said, these guys are probably genuine championship contenders. Of course, Rudd's the defending number 1, having won the second season here in 2021. The narrative, the script hasn't quite worked out in their favour. There's been a couple of stings in the tail very early in the piece here. So it just goes to show that the form guide doesn't always mean, that's how it's going to play out. And that's the good thing about sport, the theatre, the drama, the unpredictability, I guess.
Yeah, 100%. And look, last week, unfortunately, Dylan wasn't able to make the round because of work commitments. And that's cost him. But tonight he just made a simple mistake, speeding in pit lane. Anyone can do it. Unfortunately, he was the one caught out. And look at this. Brian Borg's looking to make a move here. Oh,
got him. Little bit of hip and shoulder, though. Race control. If the standard they've set tonight is anything to go by, JP, using the Reina Costello incident as the example here, they won't look too fondly on that, I wouldn't think.
No, look, I mean, Brian was well and truly up the side there, and the contact happened on the front quarter panel. So, using the B-pillar rule, he was well and truly far enough to be able to make that turn. However, race control really have set set a precedent for tonight. So it's anyone's guess as to what they're going to say about that.
Jamie Dyke, Rehan Leonage, Blake Delaney remain the top 3. Brian Borg has got past Jared Bailey for 4th. We'll wait and see what race control say about that. Here's David Kirby. We're right on board with him now. back down there in position number 20. He's got past Justin Pettifather. He's out in pursuit of Lindsay Hobbs. Hobbs is trying to catch Alessi. Alessi's trying to catch Good. Good is trying to catch Chrisdale. You see where we're going here. It's a freight train at the moment. These guys are trying to cling on to it, though, because at the moment it would appear as though Hobbs has almost lost the toe of Alessi. He won't get as much of a slipstream assistance down the back straight now as they head down towards the end of the back straight. That left-hander, and Pennefather is putting all sorts of pressure on David Kirby down the inside. No, not yet. Oh, it's all happening at COTA with 3 to go next time by the strike.
Absolutely, and we've got to give credit to these guys, to everyone tonight, you know, being able to, so far, 36 laps under their belt, no safety car, you know, a couple of little minor incidences, but everyone's been doing okay tonight.
After the 34 of Dean Alessi. A couple of cars pulling off into pit lane. Brian Good being one of them, Robert Chrisdale another. That's certainly not routine, I'm sure. But it's going to affect the way this little battle pack plays out, because it's going to take 2 people out of it. So, unless he's got Hobbs, Kirby and Pennefather for company now, and that's it. That 4 fighting out for position number 16 here. They won't catch David Nash, who will score a top 15 finish if he stays where he is. Dylan Rudder's got back to 13th. Simon Chadwick's there in 11th. Sean McNamara's up in 9th, back where he started. Rainer Costello's dropped 5 positions, sits 8th. Dylan Pereira 7th. Ben Morris 6th, up 4 spots. Jared Bailey up 3 in 5th. Brian Borg up 1 in 4th. Blake Delaney 3 positions gained. Actually, how good's this for a stat? P1 gained 1. Jamie Dyke. P2 gained 2. Rehan Leonage. P3 gained 3. Blake Delaney. I love my stats when they're that simple. I mean, just to see the 2 1s, the 2 2s, the 2 3s side by side. I mean, they've certainly earned their money tonight. There's no doubt about that. 3 to go in Texas. We've enjoyed bringing you this one. We hope you're enjoying it wherever you're tuning in around Australia. These guys last time by the strike have been racing for 56 minutes to 11 seconds. So it's going to go for just beyond the hour. Considering the lap times have dropped off considerably. 1:32.03 last time for Dyke, 32.19 for Leonage, 31.43 for Delaney, and it would appear as though JP taking tyres at the second stop tonight has proven the difference. So Rehan's tactic not so lucky this time round, but he's still going to get second and he's still going to extend his championship lead. We don't know what might have been had it played out differently for Dylan Rudd, had it played out differently for Rainer Costello, where that would have put Leonage, how it would have impacted his race. But what we do know is the gamble of taking tyres early has not worked in terms of achieving the victory tonight.
No, it was a good try. It was a good gamble. Would have been fantastic had it paid off for him, but unfortunately, you know, he just did not have the. I guess he didn't have that lead coming out of the second stop that he really needed to be able to hold out Jamie Dyke. And if you have a look now, their lap times have pretty much stabilised. Last lap for Jamie Dyke, a 1:32.1. Rian Leonage did a 1:32.09. So, you know, horses for courses tonight.
Indeed it is. And terrific to have your company along every step of the ride here, ladies and gentlemen. We ride on board with the 080, who is leading this race with a lap and a half to go. That's the margin, first to second. Jamie Dyke in complete control and has been for 5 or 6 laps. On his way home here to record a famous victory for him and a famous victory for the Fishy Motorsport squad.
Very first time racing at Circuit of the Americas for the Real Sim Racing Australia Series as well.
It was always going to throw up some sort of variable tonight, wasn't it? Drama for Rudd, drama for Costello. In comes Jamie Dyke to say, look, if you don't want it, I'll happily take it. And he's needed this result too, there's no doubt about that. Triple Crown winner in Season 2. And now he's going to get himself a race win as well. Contact on lap 35 for the 017 of Brian Borg on Jared Bailey. Brian Borg is going to get one last sting in the tail and cop a drive-through penalty. Oh, can you believe it?
We were talking about precedents, and there you go.
Just, oh, actually, Vaughan's off the circuit. Vaughan's had a moment. He's run off the circuit. Oh, no. Let's have a look at this. He's got back on the track now. But he's drifted out of control off the circuit. Oh, no!
I think he was trying to get into the pits, and it all came unstuck for him.
Now, I'm not... is the pit lane still open on the last lap, JP? Am I right in saying that?
For a drive-through penalty, it will be.
Yeah, okay, copy that. Because otherwise, if it had been a case of trying to get in pit lane and then being told it was shut, he would have been flicking it back right to keep it on the black stuff. And then all of a sudden, he's grabbed an innocent bystander, unfortunately, and all of that. And Dylan Pereira's pulled up as well on the last lap. Oh, can you believe this? He just can't buy any luck at the moment, Dylan Pereira. He's pulled up on the side of the road on the very last lap. Pereira appears to be out of business, but take nothing away from this guy. Let's get back to Pereira in a moment. But firstly, we must congratulate and celebrate with this guy on the run to the checkered flag through the final corner. Jamie Dyke is the winner in the OSRA Super Series and gets the job done in the COTA 160 at the Circuit of the Americas for Goodyear Autocare Warana and Fishy Motorsports. I tell you what, that was a sensational motor race. The Goodyear Autocare Warana Super Series, the first time that the RSRA series across any series, any guys, has been to COTA. And Jamie Dyke's the first winner there for Fishy Motorsport, and the big prancing horse, the Mustang, is back on top.
Yeah, fantastic drive by Jamie. Really well deserved. Look, I didn't really agree with the penalty that was given to Raina Costello, but I mean that was race control setting their precedent, and to their credit, they actually stuck with that and gave, I guess, were consistent with their penalty on Borg as well.
Dylan Pereira's pulled up lame. I think the other car caught up in the incident with Brian Borg was Scott Barchin. Bruce Tunnock out of business at lap 33 as well. And I've just had a message come through from race control, which I'll get to in a moment. Bruce Tunnock's been in pit lane for 7 minutes and 30 seconds. But the good news there, I guess, let's have a look at some of the drama here. This is Dylan Pereira.
No engine for Dylan Pereira.
Puff goes the engine. Puff goes the engine. It's crying no more. It's just buried. It's gone. Oh, the poor luck for Dylan Pereira continues in the RSRA Super Series. Can you believe that? Now, just want to cover off a couple of other things here. JP, here's a stat for you. Even though Scott Barchin didn't make it to the checkered flag, even though Dylan Pereira didn't make it to the checkered flag, Bruce Tunnock pulled up in pit lane at the end of lap 33. These guys will all be classified on the 75% rule. Therefore, everyone scores championship points tonight. How's that for a start? Let's celebrate. Crank up the volume, folks. We'll celebrate with Jamie Dyke as he just the burnouts of the post-race show.
Out of fuel, maybe.
I'd say he might be out of fuel on that note, JP. Yeah, good point. He's only just finished the burnout, but I'd say that the fuel is done. There are the results for you.
That's not right. Let's try that again.
That might have been qualifying, just peeking its head back in there, ladies and gentlemen. Here are the race results for you. Jamie Dyke on top in the end by 2.3 over Rian Leonage. Blake Delaney and Jared Bailey made up the top four. Ben Morrison, Raina Costello next home, then Peter Crossingham, Sean McNamara, Simon Chadwick and Craig Schultz on a night where Fords and Holdens featured evenly, 5 and 5 in the top 5. And the old FORD, Henry, was on top. Have a look at that. I do like the comment coming in on social media from Simetimes21. We need a Royal Commission into the luck the 61 is getting at the moment. Ain't that the truth? Dylan Rudd was then down in 11th position. Stephen Bull, David Nash, Lindsay Hobson, David Kirby, then Dean Alessi, Justin Pennyfather, Brian Borg, Sam Noble, and Robbie Bradbury. And it was 6 and 4 in favour of Holdens between 11 and 20. 6 and 4 again between 21 and 30. Chris Barnes, Brian Good, Robert Crisdale, David Coleman, Matthew Scholes, Dylan Pereira, Hayden Norris, Jamie Davis, Simon Vella all a lap down, and Scott Barchin 3 laps down. And then over the page once more we go to Bruce Tunnock, who was 6 laps down, but will make it to 75% race distance, so he'll get points for 31st. Anyway, let's bring in Ludo Lacroix, Jamie Dyke, Blake Delaney, and also Rian Leonage. We'll get to the post-race show in just a moment for you, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of love in the house on social media for what's going on with Jamie Dyke. A lot of people wanting to see this incident again, so let's have a look at it. And Brian Borg was all crossed up and out of shape, JP. And I dare say Race Control will be having a second look at that, because he was originally going to try and come in and serve his penalty. He ended up then having to serve his penalty on lap 39, which meant he's crossed the line before he's actually completed the drive-through. So Race Control have a bit of post-race work to do, I would imagine.
Now, the good thing with that is iRacing will take over for Race Control. Well, actually, that's been a Race Control imposed penalty, not an iRacing imposed penalty. So Race Control will have to have a look at that post-race.
Now, just getting a heads up as well that drivers were warned before the race about clean passes on turns 1, 10, and 13. 1, of course, being turn 1, and we'll hopefully get the great man in to have a chat to us. In fact, he's here right now, Jonathan Bain. Hey, mate, thanks for stopping in very quickly. I know you're going to have some work to do, but Race Control will no doubt be reviewing what's just unfolded there for Brian Borg, because obviously we've had the incident for Rainer Costello, we've had the incident for Brian Borg, and then as he was coming into pit lane, he's caught Scott Barchin off guard as well.
Yeah. There's a couple of things post-race to look at, but I did hear the chat about the drive-through on the last lap. In regards to that, iRacing actually makes the control line the end of pit lane.
Okay, so what does that mean with relation to Brian Borg, mate? Has he been pinged here? So
yep, it'll still ping him. See,
yep.
So where you come into pit lane, the start-finish line's right there.
Yep.
That won't actually trigger until he finishes the drive through the other end of pit lane. Then it'll trigger that the lap is finished. I know this, unfortunately, personal experience.
I love it. Hey, mate, so obviously, so just to clarify all of that, what Jonathan said there, so our SDK timing hasn't kicked over. Brian Borg has jumped down on the unofficial results as they've come up on the iRacing server to 18th position. 18th position, so that means that Ben Morris gets the top 5, Rainer Costello gets 6th. So that does Rihan Leonage no favours, because Costello moves a couple of points closer than he otherwise might have been, but Rihan still extends his championship lead. So, but it's by less than it otherwise might have been by 2 points there. Peter Crossingham, Sean McNamara, Simon Chadwick, and now Craig Schultz make up the top 10. Dylan Rudd in all of that ends up 11th. So how lucky was Dylan Rudd tonight? Fantastic stuff there. What else do you take away from the night from Race Control's perspective, mate? Because to be fair, there were a couple of moments. You had a little bit of work to do, but relatively clean in many respects.
Yeah, the guys were warned at the start, obviously, a yellow flag, same as last week, because that seemed to work. It was a relatively quiet night. I think the incident point counter took a hammering.
Yes.
There was many drive-throughs for that, unfortunately, but on the whole, the driving standards were good. Would have liked to have seen a couple of redresses instead of having to give penalties, but of course, that's also up to the drivers, and that's what's led to a couple of drive-throughs. But for the rest of it, there's still 4 for us to go through, so we'll be here for a little bit.
And no doubt, obviously, it's hard to ask, and it's hard, no doubt, to adjudicate on the Brian Borg incident, which cleaned up Scott Barchin. Is there any inkling on that at this point in time, mate?
I haven't had a big look at it. We had a couple others we were still going through, and I really want to get the others' feedback on that. That's going to be a race control decision more than a chief steward decision, that one. There's a couple of bits to look at, obviously.
Copy that, mate. We appreciate you stopping by. We'll let you get back to work because no doubt it sounds like it could be a late finish for you guys.
Cheers, guys, and cheers for the broadcast.
Good on you, Jonathan. Thank you very much, Lee. Jonathan's just one of several people that put their work hat on a Tuesday night and go to task in race control for us, and we greatly appreciate that. Right, let's get into the post-race show here. Jamie Dyke, welcome to Victory Lane, my friend. The first time the RSRA series has visited COTA, and your name goes straight to the top. What a night at the office.
Yeah, thanks, Zach. I got my heart racing. I've been really wanting this one. Oh, good.
Mate, talk us through the race from your perspective, because when we look at the start, it really worked into your favour with qualifying. Let's be frank. You got out there, you put a number together, you put it on the front row alongside Dylan Rudd, of all people. I mean, when he's been on his game, tonight's not one of those occasions. When he's been on his game, though, he has been the benchmark, and then it's a long gap back to the rest. But obviously he slipped up with getting done for speeding in pit lane. That was an iRacing thing, not a server thing, obviously. So therefore, iRacing's dealt him with the stop and hold. That's ruled him out of contention. And then it was a case of dealing with Rehan, who threw everyone the dummy again and went the short fuel and the new tyres. So he was on a totally different strategy. But in the end, you managed to mow him down and make light work of him in the overtaking department, held the gap solidly for a couple of laps, and then just slowly but surely eased clear.
Yeah, done a bit of practice with all the boys throughout the week, and I could tell Dylan was he didn't like COTA, a bit uneasy with the track, and Rehan's just been pumping him out. I knew it was going to short fill the first stop, but I didn't think he was going to take the tyres as well. That caught me off guard. And after the second stop, I didn't realise I'd be that close to him, and I just head down. It was a good battle. Figured he would go for the clean bonus points. I got some points with the contact with Rayner, and I just, as I said to Rehan before, I wasn't letting this one get away from me.
Exactly right. We'll get to Rehan in just a moment. So your strategy was obviously fresh tyres, second stop, and it worked to your favour.
Yes, exactly.
All right. Well, in bad news for you and good news for Rehan, only he and Sean McNamara managed clean races tonight. So as far as points go, it's a race win for you, but it's going to be a round win for Rehan Leonage because he's going to grab that extra 5 points and therefore extend his championship lead a little bit further back to Rayner Costello, Sean McNamara, and the like. I mean, Sean down in 9th position, so what's that, 7 positions difference? McNamara also got the clean race, so 14 points back further to McNamara, and the gap's going to extend out by Costello's going to come home 6, so 8 points back to Costello, so make it 13 with the clean race. So it's a big night at the office for Rehan Leonage. Jamie, can you stay there for me? I'll come back to you in a moment. Rehan, it's a glass half full, glass half empty sort of chat, this one, because you had the race win there for the taking. You weren't able to do that. But if you think bigger picture, the championship, things are looking really good.
Yeah, it sure is looking good. We didn't expect for Jamie to come out of the second pit stop that close to us, but because I'm my second stint, so first one on the tires, made a couple mistakes, so he closed in the gap a little bit. But yeah, strategy worked out pretty well. We had to kind of pick the clean race bonus over trying to fight for the win, so just let him go a little bit. Tried to stick with him, but him being on fresh tires couldn't really do that. But other than that, taking the round win, it's good. Increasing champ points, championship lead. So.
Well, I was going to say, mate, you're ticking all the boxes at the moment because, as you say, you're taking round wins by virtue of clean races compared to those around you. And to be fair, that's hallmark of the Leonage racecraft because Laz, your dad, he used qualifying and clean races to his advantage to win the first season over Rainer Costello, your current championship opponent. Just think about that for a moment, ladies and gentlemen. Rainer Costello must be having headaches at the moment revolving around Leonages because he can't get rid of them. But at the same time, you're ticking all the boxes. You could have thrown caution to the wind tonight and had a crack, but better to think about the bigger picture because every point up your sleeve, the better come December 12 when you just don't know how 161 laps are going to play out.
Yep, for sure. As you said, every point counts. The gap in with Ray Costello and my dad. There was 1 point at the end of the season after 17 rounds, so every point does count.
Certainly does, mate. Hey, talk us through the race from your perspective because in that first stint there, it looked like Dylan and Jamie and Rainer were throwing caution to the wind. They were happy to go for it, and you were just sitting back waiting for your moment, weren't you?
Yeah, it was mostly just waiting because I knew that something would happen with two of them, and it did end up happening. And also at the same time, I was trying to conserve the tires a little bit because I knew that a whole bunch of people struggle on the older tires. So it was more there about me waiting for my opportunity, but also keeping the tires alive and just trying to keep it consistent to stay close enough, but not too close.
Now, before I keep you any further, Rehan, and keep asking questions, when do you resume school, please? And if have you already started?
We're going back Thursday, and then we're back every day.
You're back every day after Thursday. Okay, so this is the last time in which we'll be able to keep Rehan Leonage around for a full post-race show because next week he's going to be on a curfew because he's got to get back up early in the morning. You must be looking forward to going back to school and seeing your friends again, but at the same time, it's going to compromise your sim race preparation, I take it.
Yeah, it's half on it.
I love it. My niece in a similar position, only 5 years old though. She's in kindergarten. She's gone back to school in the last couple of weeks, loving it. But at the same time, yeah, there's also that I can't sit and watch Netflix all day thing. I get it. I understand it. Hey, Rehan, stay there for me. I'm glad that you can stick around a little bit longer here. Blake Delaney, let's bring you into the chat right now, mate, because at the end of the day, that was a very cool, calm, collected, consistent run from you. Untroubled, really. You kept your nose clean. You kept out of trouble. You didn't really have anyone to play with for a good majority of the night. And in the end, you're rewarded with third.
Yeah, it painted out a pretty boring race. And just a note to Rehan's school: can we get an early bedtime? Maybe Laz can impose a bit of a penalty if he goes to bed later than 7. You keep cleaning up. But no, it was I had grandstand seats for the whole race there, just sitting back and watching it all unfold. I have no idea what happened to Dylan and Rainer, but yeah, easy race, I suppose.
Well, if you're just joining us, folks, and you're not sure, much like Blake, Rainer Costello picked up a drive-through penalty for contact there in the early parts. He had a little bit of a panel rub, and race control didn't like what they saw, so they handed him a drive-through. It was, I believe, it was with you, Jamie Dyke, was it not?
Yep. He outbroke himself and ran me off the track.
Copy that.
Probably was an accident, but a redress. If he had a redress, it probably nothing would have happened.
They probably would have left him alone, you reckon?
Yeah.
So his loss is your gain, most notably. And then for Dylan, well, uncharacteristically, he got done for speeding in pit lane. So that's what rubbed him out. But, mate, you started sixth. You had, as you say, the grandstand seats, the best seats in the house for the first few laps there. Then it kind of became a race with yourself, essentially. You had to just continue to focus on, eyes forward, to use a Paul Nichols expression if he's watching, and just keep it on the black stuff and keep circling laps here, because there was no one chasing you. You weren't really catching anyone around you, but you had a podium there for the taking, and you certainly took it.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, there's a lot of jokes going around in the Fishy Motorsports team at the moment about my starts, new set of pedals and horrible starts all week, going back 10, 15 spots every time. But I was lucky enough to get around the outside of turn 1 and short fill a little bit the first stop, take tyres on the second, and then obviously just manage the gap to behind. But yeah, like I said, it was a pretty boring race, and you painted a pretty good picture there. It was a boring race, but obviously a great series and a lot of fun.
Great night for Fishy Motorsports, obviously. I mean, a great points haul for you. So let's not paint a fully boring picture. Let's look at it in a positive sense. You're walking away with a good haul of points, but also a great night for your teammate up front there.
Yeah, absolutely. Young fella's doing really well. He's driving away from every one of us, and it would surprise everyone to note that he's probably got the oldest sim set up and still running on the G29 and killing everyone in every race, Jamie. So it's unbelievable. He does a phenomenal job.
It's really funny. Can I just share with everybody for a moment before we go on here? One of the greats in sim racing land by the name of Brenton Hobson had to go to Bendigo last week, so he wasn't at his house for the usual sim racing commitments. So he took his makeshift takeaway, on the road sort of setup with him. It was like comparing analog to digital, dial-up to NBN, New South Wales to Queensland. It was just phenomenal how different it was, and he was only on a lovely little 15-inch screen. He still managed to get second in one of the races, but he had to park it in the supercar race. Long Beach was just too much for that 15-inch screen, I think. But, I mean, that's one of the things. Sometimes, Blake, and Jamie can weigh in here too, sometimes sim rigs and the technological advances of them, sometimes they matter, sometimes they don't. Sometimes it hinges on driver ability.
Yeah, look, the great man drives pretty well. He has been driving pretty well for a long time, and some of the guys out there with $20,000-$25,000 rigs, and he's sitting there with his G29, Zach, and absolutely killing it. So he's been doing a good job. I mean, you just have to look at his stats; they're unbelievable. And him and the little master have been battling all week, Rehan, and they it's phenomenal to watch when you can see them on track.
Left of field for a moment, boys, to give you a breaking news update out of Combank Stadium in Sydney, where Australia and Brazil have played out a 2-2 draw in women's football on the back of the 3-1 win, I should say, for the Matildas on Saturday night. So the Matildas having a good return to home soil there for anyone just tuning in. You're listening to the post-race show. You're watching the highlights of the race that was, and you're listening to the post-race show here, round 5 of the RSRA Goodyear Autocare Warana SuperSeries on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting. We've got another about half an hour to sit in and explore what was captivating 39 laps here at the circuit of the American West Circuit. Now, what's interesting, I've just had it through my earpiece, unless the computer blows up because of storms on the Sunshine Coast where this broadcast is coming out of, ladies and gentlemen. So bear that in mind. If we go black suddenly, you know what's happened, but we've made it this far, so we'll cut our losses if that's the case, and we'll just come back next week. But in saying all that, Jamie, let me go back to you. How nice is it to get the monkey off the back and get the P1?
Oh, it's phenomenal. Been waiting all season. I felt good off the back of last season. Thought I'd have a fair chance, and Rehan just took the next step up, and with Borgie and Rudd coming in, it's been real hard. McNamara's gotten a lot quicker. It feels good. I'm relieved.
Must be nice to hear Blake talk you up like that as well. I mean, you're flying the flag for the teammates and you're doing it, with no disrespect. Let's compare privateer to factory in terms of the sim rig setup. The old girl's still got it.
Yeah, she's I've had to maintain her a little bit, but other than that, yeah, works well. Probably not immersive in any way, shape or form, but gets the job done.
Blake, just correct me if I'm wrong here. You started the season in the Super 2, did you?
That's a fairly decent shot at me. No, I didn't. But
No, no.
thanks for that.
No.
No, definitely not. Started at the back of split one. But
Gotcha.
yeah,
Nice move forward if that's the case. I mean, it's only taken you 5 weeks to get up onto the podium, because I know there were a couple of names. I think I'm getting you mixed up with the guy right behind you, 8 and 9, you and Jared Bailey. Jared, I think,
That's
was
cool.
a graduate after week 1. They didn't like how much he dominated week 1 in Spain at the Circuit of Barcelona, Catalunya, and said, right, you're up to the main split, and he's proven that with 4th. And I'm just trying to work out who the other one was. JP may be able to help me on that, but there were definitely 2 drivers promoted. So apologies for that. But you've got to be, on that note, then, if you're saying that you start at the back end of town, you've got to be happy with how far you've progressed in the first 5 weeks.
Oh yeah, absolutely, completely stoked, mate. It's been a difficult start to the year, but been able to keep. I think we're 8th coming into the championship, so into this round. So yeah, pretty happy with the results, definitely. But I mean, I think this is a bit of an anomaly for me. These guys are pretty quick up here, and I believe I'm somewhere in the 15 to 20 mark in the series. But a lot of guys had a bit of trouble tonight. So.
Stephen Bull, of course, was the other driver that started in Tier 2 and moved his way up into the main game after week 1, just for clarification there. Thanks to JP for sending that info through. Let's explore a couple of things here, boys, because JP made the point at the start of the call that this was the first time that we've run on COTA West, COTA in general, in RSRA Super Series competition, be it in any of the seasons, any of the guises, naming right sponsors and the like. So how much preparation went in at your end, Blake, for this particular event, this particular round?
Yeah, we did a few officials this week. I reckon probably about 4 or 5 officials this week, just to learn the track and get used to everything. I just recently upgraded rigs too, so it's really hard to get into a new rig and be on the pace straight away. But yeah, a fair bit of practice went into it. I think the boys probably had a bit more, but it's an awesome track. That'll probably not be a popular statement to a lot of people, but no. Yeah, really enjoy the track.
We might have to end this one a little bit earlier, folks, because JP's just informing me off air that the lights are flickering at his end. So that usually suggests that a blackout is not too far away. But I just want to, I'll cover this stuff off, and then we'll get your thoughts on Brazil, and then get your thoughts on thanking sponsors and the like. Jamie Dyke, how much preparation went in at your end, please?
Quite a lot. I practiced long and hard for this one. Quite a few races with Rehan. And yeah, got all my brake markers down pat, and yeah, lots of practice.
Also, the other thing as well, Jamie, I just wanted to quickly brush over with you. Not the easiest start to this season, because you've had races that have been compromised by penalties and the like. But it's nice to show that if everything goes right, you're certainly a genuine contender here.
Oh, it's a better start than last season. Last season I blew an engine round 1.
Well, that's true. Yeah. But this season you had a penalty round 1, did you not?
I had a penalty round 1, penalty round 2.
Yeah.
I had to get the elbows out at some stage. And, you can't learn unless you make mistakes.
Exactly right, mate. Rehan Leonage, I know you pride yourself on preparation and getting ready for these races, and we spoke last week and you weren't sure how COTA was going to go for you. How much preparation went in at your end, mate?
Definitely a fair bit. First I needed to buy the track, download it, did a couple laps, just did a whole bunch of practice, jumped into some officials, and almost got my 5KR rating. Can't be sad with the performances and officials this week.
No, you are certainly flying up the food chain, as they say, at a rapid rate of knots, my friend. Well done. Before we completely fall off air here, folks, if we do have a tech issue, a power issue at our producers' end, let's have a look at the championship points, and then we'll continue as best we can with these guys for a couple of more minutes here. That's the damage that Rehan's done tonight. 28 points over Rainer Costello now. Sean McNamara sits third. Jamie Dyke catapults up the order into fourth place, 5 clear of Brian Borg, and then it's a big gap back to Blake Delaney, who has vaulted up past Simon Vella and Jared Bailey with that result tonight. Craig Schultz on 589 and Dylan Rudd on 580. That's a costly night at the office for him. He would have liked to have netted about, 18 or 20 more points in all of that. He finished down in 12th. So what's that? 22 off first. He could have been right up there where Blake Delaney is had it not been for the shortcomings of the night. Now, unfortunately, he's now 165 points behind Rehan Leonage, which is more than a round, pending though, or bearing in mind though that Bathurst is double points. So he's not out of contention yet, but that was a dint in the tilt of the campaign that he did not need, unfortunately. That's the top 10. We won't bother running through the rest of them at this point in time, but JP will scroll them along on the screen so that those of you watching on at home still can have a look. I just want to continue with these guys while we've still got them. Jamie, can you back it up next week when we go to Interlagos? The pressure must be on now that you've joined the likes of Rehan and Dylan as a race winner here.
I'm not sure. It's more of a pet track for Blake Delaney, but I'll give it a red hot go. I do enjoy the track. Yeah, not sure on pace yet. We'll see in the next week.
Any advice you might be able to take from teammates with regards to that?
Sure there will be, but yeah, don't know.
Applying the advice is the difficult part, isn't it? Yeah, exactly. Hey, mate, I'll come back to you in just a moment. Obviously, Rehan next week, 250 kilometres. It's a big step up from what we've done tonight, another 90 on top of this. But it's a different circuit entirely. Interlagos, what are your thoughts?
Gonna be a killer. Yeah, definitely not an easy track to do a whole bunch of laps on, and also with keeping it consistent and trying to limit the off tracks and things. But yeah, can't say that I've had bad runs in the past there. But yeah, we'll see. It's gonna be interesting.
Blake, where do you sit within Interlagos, mate? Obviously, now that you've got yourself a podium, no doubt you'd want to carry that momentum forward. And next week's a different test because it's an extra round of pit stops. It's an enduro. I mean, there might be an extra set of tyres there at your disposal. I'm not sure. It's going to be an interesting night at the office one way or another.
Yeah, I think if it's a fuel race, I might be in for a show. But and if Laz imposes that penalty at 7 o'clock, we should be good. But other than that, yeah, we'll do everything we possibly can to try and jump into a podium position. But I do like the track, though. It's a really good track.
On that note, race start 8 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time next.
Oh, that rules him out then. So
we're
all good.
8 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time for you next Tuesday night, half an hour earlier than usual because of the extra 90 kilometres of racing. That's how the calendar looks for you as well, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to come up on your screen there, and we'll show you that it's 58 laps. It's the second technically enduro of the season to go with last week's 64 lapper around Long Beach. It'll run in just about the same time too, because the average speed around the Interlagos circuit is far higher than Long Beach. And then, of course, we go on to the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, the final super sprint of the season at Road America after that, then Summit Point, Donington, then on to 3 days or nights of coverage from Mount Panorama Bathurst, starting Tuesday, December 7, with qualifying. The Goodyear Autocare Warana Bathurst 1000, Saturday, December 11 from 4:30 Australian Eastern Daylight Time. We'll get into the top 10 shootout. And then Sunday morning, 9 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time, 1,000 kilometres for the final round of the Triple Crown, the final outing of the year. The Goodyear Autocare Warana Bathurst 1000. Rehan, if you're in championship contention, that might make things a little bit more nerve-wracking on December 12th.
For sure, especially because it's not just any Bathurst race, it's the 1000.
Yeah, exactly right, my friend. Well done again. And I guess when you look at that calendar and you realise we're not even halfway through, and then basically whatever we amount to in terms of race distance for the first 10 rounds, you're going to do at least 2/3 of what you've already done to that point in the one day on December 12. It makes for a very long campaign. That's probably one of the reasons why they made it an 11-week season, not a 12. But in saying that, Blake, have the Fishy Motorsport team had any discussions yet as to who they're going to put forward on the day to partner with yourself? And we'll get Jamie Dyke to weigh in on this as well, because he's no doubt part of the mix there too.
Not really. I think Jamie and I might end up driving together. Not 100% sure though.
You'd have to feel confident about that after the form he's put in so far.
Oh, driving with a great man will be pretty good. Yeah.
Jamie, if it's not Blake, who else might you draft in from the Fishy Motorsport stable to help you out on December 12th, my friend?
Not sure yet. Leave all that info to the week prior,
Head fish.
I think.
The head fish. Of course, one of our good friends, Rob Carmichael's a member of the Fishy Motorsport squad, so hello to him as well. If he's tuning in, no doubt applauding the efforts of Jamie Dyke and Blake Delaney tonight. 1 and 3 for Fishy Motorsport. Really good stuff there. Boys, normally I'd keep you till 10:30. I'm going to try and get us out of here at 10:15 for the sake of JP's computer and power outages and all that sort of stuff, hoping to avoid all of that. The obvious pitfalls that go with that. So at this point in time, before we even bother about looking ahead on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting, let's have the three of you step up to the plate to take over the floor and thank your sponsors accordingly, starting with third place, Blake Delaney.
Yeah, thanks very much, mate. Really appreciate it. You guys are doing a fantastic job, and the Goodyear Autocare SuperSeries is pretty cool. SimShed's doing a fantastic job, so well done to JP and the guys there. Fishy Motorsports have been awesome, so thanks very much to the boys there and all the sponsors that get on board: Black Wolf Graphics, DC Shades, Precision Sim Training, Relax Game Fishing, and Sideways Photography. And again, a big thanks to you guys. You're doing a terrific job.
I'll get to some of the fan mail in just a moment, because if we've got enough time, there might be a question here that the three of you can give us a quick answer to. Second place tonight, the championship leader, and he just edged clear of Raider a little bit more, Rehan Leonage.
I'd like to thank Melbourne Hydrographics Depot, Track Racer, Simcore, Aramex Heatherton, LAL Photography. I'd like to thank you guys up here in the commentary box, JP for running the series, and Race Control for dealing with penalties and things behind the scenes. I'd like to thank my friends and family for watching, my dad for crew chiefing, and my teammate Dylan Pereira for pushing me all week to go faster.
And it's working, I must say, because you're putting in a superb performance to this point. And Rehan, I guess before I get to the fan questions that are coming in here, and there's a lot of, as I said earlier, for Jamie Dyke. Rehan, if push comes to shove and you're in contention for the championship, and you've got Rayner against you, and you've got Dylan Rudd charging home potentially, and you've got Sean McNamara weighing into the mix as well, how do you guys work with Dylan Pereira so that he can maybe play an assisting role in helping you secure the title?
I guess that info will be kept a secret for now.
Kept under the guards? Yeah, okay,
yeah,
fair enough.
But maybe later on.
He's very good, because normally kids don't keep secrets, but he's keeping his cards very close to his chest. In about 7-8 years' time, when he's allowed to, I still probably would not play poker with Rehan Leonage. He's keeping his cards very close to his chest. Well done, boys. Great work tonight. Quick bit of fan mail before we go, because there's been a few interesting comments coming in tonight. Still didn't get clarification on who the Basil Z of E-Racing was, whether that was me or JP. But given that Zemplis is a lead commentator, I guess that might have been me. But I'll take that and run with it. Let's go to some of the fan mail here, because they want to know What do you guys snack on as soon as you get out of the sim rig? There was a question there because we're talking about what sort of snack food we should be having during the broadcast because we're watching Australian cars and American circuit. You know, do we mix the two cuisines or do we just go with something Aussie or something Yankee? Blake Delaney, what's your favourite snack post sim race, please?
Before we just get to the snack and before you get to Jamie, I thought I'd just say that massive head wobble moment for Rob will plague us for the next few weeks. So just do us a favour, not mention Rob's name on the stream.
Copy that.
Definitely a massive head wobble.
No worries.
Back in team headquarters there, but American food, mate. I'll take that.
Jamie Dyke, what's your favourite post race snack and beverage, please?
Coffee.
Coffee at this time of the night. You are a maniac. I know
Coffee or
you've told me about this
either
before.
either. Coffee or beer, depending on the night.
Rehan Leonage, I'm assuming some juice or milk or soft drink because you're only 11. But what about the snack food-wise, please, buddy?
Changes every week. So I'm not sure, but lemon bitters for the drink, thanks.
Oh, why not? Hey, something fashionable, something trendy. Good stuff there. No, there were some very good questions coming in on socials tonight. Again, folks, now that I see all the comments that come through via Twitch, via Facebook, via YouTube, remember to send your comments in throughout the course of the broadcast. If you've got a question for any of the drivers, feel free to send them here too. All I got tonight was asking about snack food. So I've held up my end of proceedings there. Hey, Blake Delaney, thank you to you. Well done. Jamie Dyke, and of course, he's offside of Lulo Lacroix and also Redan Leonage. Boys, well done tonight. Great effort. Any final comments before we wrap up here, Blake?
Nah, just well done to the two boys here. You guys killed it. And Race Control did a fantastic job tonight, I thought. And championship's going really well, as in the people that are running it. So doing a good job, guys.
All right. Hey, before we go, Jamie Dyke, and it's a good thing that Blake Delaney reminded me because I've got to do the same thing from the SimShed broadcasting standpoint. Before we go, I haven't given you centre stage just yet because you've got to thank some people, and rightly so, as a new race winner on the platforms of SimShed broadcasting in the RSRA Super Series, mate. The floor is yours.
I'd like to thank, obviously, our sponsors, Black Wolf Graphics, Sideways Photography, DC Shades, Precision Sim Training, and Relax Marine and Game Fishing. The boys from the team, everyone's been driving absolutely amazing just in the last week, 2 weeks. Been a lot of good teamwork. So thanks, boys. And all the stewards and JP and everyone putting on the show. It's good. I love it. Thank you.
No, it's an easy thing to work on from my perspective, and it's a good show only when the talent provides the show. We rely on you guys to entertain us so that we can entertain the people at home. It doesn't happen without you guys, so thank you to all of you as well. Rehan Leonage, well done. Jamie Dyke, well done. Blake Delaney, well done. JP, come in and join me for a moment, please. A night not without its controversy and drama. We'll be talking about the two incidents that netted those drive-through penalties for a while, no doubt. But Rainer Costello ended up being the big winner in all of that because he fought back to position number 6, whereas Brian Borg ended up well down the order. Dylan Rudd, that's a rookie error from a guy of his experience, unfortunately. But it just goes to show that you can rock up with a form guide and an idea or a thought about how things might play out, and then the script gets torn up and thrown out the window.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, and in the defence of Race Control, look, maybe their calls were a little controversial tonight, but they were consistent with the way that they did do their calling. So hats off to them. You don't have to agree with everything that Race Control does. You do have to respect them, and I do respect their consistency. And like you said, you know, we can look at the form guide, we can see who the drivers on point are, but come race night, that really doesn't mean anything because you know, more often than not, there's a sting in the tail, as you like to say.
Indeed, there was a couple tonight, no doubt about that. And most of all for for Brian Borg, obviously, there. Hey, driver of the night nomination, would it go to Jamie Dyke, or have you got another one in mind?
No, look, I think it's a no-brainer. Jamie drove a brilliant race tonight, made some very decisive passing moves on Reina Costello and on Rahan Leonage. So yeah, look, I think I'm going to go driver of the night, Jamie Dyke, but I'm going to give it equal second to Blake Delaney because yeah, great to see a new face on the podium for the series.
Agree with that wholeheartedly, and I don't think Jared Bailey's too far away either. He was knocking on the door there in fourth after only being promoted up 4 weeks ago. He's looking the goods. Watch for him later on in the season as well. As I say, we're out of here 5-10 minutes early tonight due to impending storms up there in the beautiful Sunshine Coast region of Queensland.
BBs up here.
So let's thank the people that make it possible for us to do what we do on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting. Of course, Goodyear Autocare Warana, first and foremost, DSL Welding, Dragon RC, Blue Stampede, Labour Hire, and of course also a special mention to SDK Gaming, Track Cams for Gourmet. And don't forget at Goodyear Autocare Warana, a 443 deal on selected Goodyear tyres. Buy 3, get 1 free on selected Goodyear passenger and 4x4 tyres. Of course, we cannot forget also that next week is enduro mode for us. So let's have a look ahead on that note on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting. And you'll see that it's enduro mode tomorrow night, in fact, for the RSRA Super 2E series for DSL Welding. But they are still going to race at 8:20 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time, start at 8:30. So that'll be a later finish for those guys tomorrow night. However, for us, we've had this advertised all season as a 7:50 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time start. So for the Super 2E series for DSL Welding, it is the first enduro of the season. Their next one will be Mount Panorama. This will be 60 laps around COTA tomorrow night for them. Looking forward to that immensely. For the Tuesday night motorsport road train, the teams, drivers, officials and commentators, everybody else involved, the fraternity here, we're off to the circus, heads to South America, heads to Brazil, and heads to the Interlagos circuit for 58 laps. So again, a busy night at the office next Tuesday night, 8:20 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time for the other rounds of the series. Next week's special time, 7:50 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time, race start 8 o'clock. Make a note of that, particularly for those of you in Western Australia. It's going to be 4:50 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time there, but we're looking forward to it immensely. First and only enduro, and I say that because that's what it's called on the sheet there, even though last week could have been classified as one as well. It's the last, however, enduro hit out before we get to the mountain on December 12th. So we hit enduro mode for the next 2 broadcast commitments here on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting, then sprint racing right through to the end of the season, and then the big baby, the big dance, the grand stage of Mount Panorama on Sunday, December 12th. We're edging ever closer to that. That's the last time we're with you on a Tuesday night in the month of October. Hope you're back a winner in the Melbourne Cup next Tuesday. And then whilst you're celebrating wherever you may be around Australia, lockdown or not, hopefully you'll come back and join us here on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting next Tuesday night. Then for all of the action post-Cup of the RSRA Super Series for Goodyear Autocare Warana. Jamie Dyke's night at the Circuit of the Americas in Texas. Of course, Texas has been at the forefront of our motorsport minds the last few days with Formula One, and now some Super Series action as well. The Super 2E Series goes round tomorrow night. I hope you'll join Matt Davis and, of course, Dino for that. Dean Reddit, looking forward to your company again next week. Remembering, of course, Saturday Night Motorsport is wrapped up for the year with the SimShed Broadcasting 500 last week, the last round of the Weekend Warriors Cup Cast Series 4 this year. So it's just the Tuesday and the Wednesday night from here, but there's some awesome action on the way. Plenty to enjoy in amongst all of that. Whilst we might, only have 2 nights of the week up our sleeve at this point in time to enjoy our sim racing action, we're going to make the most of it, and it's going to be well worth the price of admission. So might be a shortage in terms of nights at the office, but no shortage in terms of drama and excitement, and that delivered tonight. The Circuit of the Americas. Rehan Leonage continues to lead the championship. Jamie Dyke's on the winners list. We're off to Brazil next week and look forward to your company for that and more on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting. In the meantime, for JP and the crew, I'm Zach Caban. From all of us here, we wish you a very good night.